Welcome to The Explainer. When you picture an astronaut in your mind, you probably conjure up a very specific, almost cinematic image, right? But have you ever stopped to think about the absolute, literal life or death stakes dictating exactly why they look the way they do? Today, we're unpacking the survival design of spacesuits, drawing on some really fantastic insights from Zach D. Films. We're going to look way beyond those iconic silhouettes and explore how every single visual choice, and I mean every choice, is meticulously calculated to keep human beings alive in environments that are, frankly, actively trying to destroy them. Let's get right into it. So, think about those classic historical images of astronauts we've all grown up with. Sometimes they're out there working in this pristine, bulky white suit, just floating against the blackness of space. And then other times, like when they're doing that famous walk out to the launch pad, they're wearing a bright pumpkin orange jumpsuit. So, why the sudden wardrobe change? I mean, it's a massive visual paradox. It's incredibly easy to look at this difference and just assume, oh, it's just a branding choice, or maybe a bit of a space agency tradition. But out there is absolutely zero room for fashion, none. This is a highly functional choice dictated entirely by the unforgiving environment around them. Okay, let's dive into this. Basically, we have two distinct suits for two completely different scenarios. We've got the white suits on one side and the orange suits on the other. What the source material reveals is that an astronaut's mission isn't just one single static environment. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a sequence of drastically different, highly dangerous stages. And the specific suit they wear at any given moment has to perfectly counter the deadly threats of that exact stage. You can't just have a one-size-fits-all approach when you're leaving the Earth's atmosphere, right? You have to adapt specifically to whatever is trying to kill you at that exact second. Let's transport ourselves geographically to the first and probably most famous hostile environment: the absolute vacuum of space. When astronauts leave the relative safety of their spacecraft to actually conduct a spacewalk, they are stepping into an arena where the rules of Earth simply do not apply. It is entirely unforgiving. Out there, the primary adversary isn't just the sheer lack of oxygen. No, it's the direct, totally unshielded power of the sun. Without our atmosphere to protect them, temperatures can swing wildly by literally hundreds of degrees, all depending on whether they're in the sun's direct glare or tucked away in the Earth's shadow. An astronaut could literally be boiling hot on one side of their body and freezing cold on the other at the exact same time. Wild, right? So the crucial takeaway here is that the color white serves as a vital piece of armor. Its primary function: absolute protection against solar radiation while astronauts are actively working out in space. Without the Earth's thick atmosphere acting as a filter, an astronaut would be constantly bombarded by the sun's harsh, damaging rays. And white is utilized for a very specific reason. It's the most reflective color in the visible spectrum. By wearing these bright white suits, astronauts are effectively wearing a highly tailored, pressurized mirror. This mirror constantly bounces that intense solar radiation right away from their bodies. It's just an absolutely ingenious way to keep them safe, and more importantly, it stops them from dangerously overheating while they work. Let's move to and see how this builds, because an astronaut isn't always just floating in the quiet vacuum of space. The explosive, violent journey up and the fiery journey back down bring a totally different set of challenges. We can break it down into specific mission phases. Step 1 is takeoff. Step 2 is ocean travel. And Step 3 is re-entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. It's exactly during these highly volatile, super dynamic phases, takeoff and re-entry, that astronauts swap out their white armor and put on orange. The environment they're passing through has fundamentally changed, which means their primary survival tool has to change right along with it. To truly wrap our heads around the necessity of that bright orange suit, we need to look at the reality of the flight path. Rockets deliberately travel over the vast ocean. Now, this is a highly calculated choice designed to keep people safe on the ground just in case of falling debris. But it introduces a massive variable for the astronauts strapped inside the capsule. During these incredibly dynamic phases of flight, there's always this constant, looming risk of things going wrong. If there's a critical malfunction during the launch sequence, or, say, a severe problem during the intense heat of re-entry, the crew might be forced into an emergency abort. And that abort? Well, it would inevitably leave them right in the middle of the unpredictable open ocean. And this brilliantly illustrates the genius behind the entire design. It all comes down to one simple, life-saving data point. Orange is the easiest color to detect in open water. Specifically, a shade known as international orange. If a capsule has to abort and astronauts find themselves bobbing around in the dark blue, green, and gray waves of the ocean, a white suit would be an absolute disaster. It would blend right in with the white caps of the crashing waves, making them practically invisible to rescuers. But a bright, highly contrasting orange suit, that instantly transforms the astronaut into a glowing survival beacon for search and rescue helicopters and ships. In a water landing emergency, every single second counts, and that specific shade drastically cuts down the time it takes to spot a crew in distress. Which brings us to our final thought. How does extreme survival dictate the simplest design choices? We started this explainer wondering about a very basic two-color palette, white and orange. But what we've discovered is that in the absolute harshest environments imaginable, there is zero room for mere aesthetics. Form, strictly and unapologetically, follows life-saving function. You need stark white to reflect the deadly, unshielded solar radiation of deep space, and you need bright orange to literally shout for help across miles of endless open ocean. It's just a stark, beautiful reminder of the pure ingenuity required to keep humans alive where we simply aren't meant to be. The next time you see an astronaut, I guarantee you won't just see a spacesuit anymore. You're going to see a perfectly engineered, highly visual survival system. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating topic, and I really hope this leaves you constantly questioning the brilliant design of the world around you.